There we are. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Nice. Wait for a few people to file in. Somebody let me know if you can hear me. And then I can start explaining what we'll be working on. Well, today, well, the last couple of days, I've been fighting with the CX500. Been fighting some grounding issues and electrical faults. And hey, Sanchez. So I've been going through trying to figure out where the system is faulting out. Hello, plywood. Oh, don't tell her you had to pause her video to watch mine. That's funny. Go finish hers first. I'll be here for a while. Hey, William, how you doing? Hopefully you can hear me. Check my volume. Yeah, it says I should be playing. So the electrical on these bikes is really weird. I don't know how to explain it. And I figure I would just kind of share my struggles with you. Basically, I have power that goes up through my ignition. Bring you in a little closer. So I have my ignition here. It's still trying to track me. There we go. I have a power wire that comes in here through ignition and it exits basically out as a brown and white wire. This brown and white wire runs through my churn signals. Well, technically not my churn signals yet. It goes through my hand controls, then my hand controls split the power out through the churn signals, and it also kind of splices in through a few other different areas. I don't know how else to explain it. This has taken me quite a while. I think I've been out here for about 18 hours altogether trying to figure this out. Doing a really bad job of explaining it. But this brown wire comes down through here and actually plugs in to this plug here. And this plug controls all of my turn signals. Now, the problem if I can get the camera over here. The problem I'm having is the brown wire comes into the churn signal housing and goes to the churn signal knob. And whenever I plug that in, it's grounding out somewhere or causing a fault somewhere. So I've been chasing around in circles trying to figure out where that fault is at. Because currently I have everything working on the bike except for my horn, which is strange because the horn only runs on a ground and a hot black. So that's why I'm a little confused. Hey, Quick Shoe, how's it going? Get this back out. So I've been looking at the wiring schematics. Everywhere I've been looking, everyone says, check the wiring schematics, check the wiring schematics. And that's fine and all, except this wiring system is very strange. I'm not sure if I can explain it better. So I was looking at, I don't think I can bring it up. It says on this new diagram I found that the termination of the ground for the front signals is on custom and deluxes, which this is, and the green wire only appears on newer bikes. Okay, so that's fine. So the black wire literally goes into a dead end for the ground is what I'm reading, I guess, which is weird. The 79 Custom and Deluxe do not have a spare ground lead. It's kind of confusing. I know that when I originally took this apart, there is a hot and a ground, and the original turn signals are 3-wire. So they had a constant run, a turn, and a ground. Well, now I don't have a ground. But the problem is I think I have this hooked up as a turn signal and a constant. So technically there's no ground unless it's grounding through here. Previously, before I plugged all this in, I vaguely remember, I don't know if I still have the wire, I'm pretty sure somebody else before had one of these wires going into a ground. I don't think I have it anymore. I posted a picture of it on my Instagram basically saying I replaced somebody else's shoddy work. Oh, screwdriver. And now I'm starting to wonder if that ground say a horn has a relay. Where would the horn relay be? Because on mine under here, it looks like I have a little black box. Let's see if I can bring you in. Try to get this to make sense. So I have this little black box here, and it goes down into a black, a yellow, and a ground. And then it splits off from the yellow and goes up into the water temp sensor. And then the green and the blue go back, which I believe it goes to the neutral safety switch and the oil pressure setting light. I can't find where a horn relay would be because the way they describe it online is the horn currently comes down here to 2 black wires, and then it plugs into the horn, and these go directly up to the switch. And this typically is plugged into the back of here, but I was pulling some plugs, testing some things. So my first initial thought is maybe the churn signal housing, because I have the constant and the flasher hooked up, that it's causing a grounding fault somewhere, because it sounds like the horn somehow gets power through that housing from the brown and white wire. I'm not really sure. So this is where it's been kind of confusing for me. Somebody else said to take the ground off the headlight housing and actually plug it into the ground harness. That way it would have a actual connector that goes back into the frame rather than trying to ground through the bucket. They said that's a common issue. I've now added 2 different grounds to this. Hey, sick. I don't know if I can say your last name on there. So I'm not sure. I have enough grounds on the back now. I've added a ground, and I basically just for redundancy at this point. And I've torn apart these switches if you've been following me along on Instagram. I completely tore these switches apart, tore the ignition all the way down underneath, cleaned everything out, re-greased everything. So it's kind of strange. So yeah, I think I'm going to try, man, I don't know if I can ground those. Like technically those are powered. So I'm going to try some stuff. No, there's no relays on the side covers, unfortunately. I have 2 fuses under the steering bars here. I can show you here. Try to show you. Got to fight all the cables. So basically right here I have 2 10 amp fuses. This bottom one is the one that keeps blowing. It's essentially a brown and black wire that come in. And the brown and the black appear to come, which is weird. It goes through the ignition through the right handlebar, comes down, and then splits around, and then rejoins. And then it is basically a dual pin connector in the ignition, which is really weird because the ignition has 4 different pins. I have a turn signal flasher behind the side cover. And then the only other fuse I have on the side cover is the main 20 amp fuse, I believe. I know on the newer ones, they have a horn relay, which was what I keep seeing. Yeah, there's nothing over here except for the turn signals, which is a gray and black, which the black is the hot, from what I understand, and the gray is just, I'm not sure where the gray goes up to. I'd have to track it. I think it goes up in here into a pigtail. Comes up here, goes in here. So the gray goes back into the main harness over here. I'm not sure where the gray goes to. It might go up forward. I'll have to see. I can check the diagram as well. Oh, I already got people sending me links. So that's a 1983. So the wiring schematics on a 83 are different from a 79 and 80. I think it changed from what I understand. Should have one here. Yeah, so 78 and 79 were the 2 years of this wiring harness. If you unplug the horn, does it still blow a fuse? Yes. Yes, it does. So what's strange about this is it only stopped blowing a fuse after I unplugged my brown and white wire that, oddly enough, goes towards the turn signal switch. That's why I'm kind of confused. But the funny thing about this is when I turn the bike on, the turn signals all work. But I don't have front running lights. So that again is why I'm kind of wondering if, since I have them plugged in as 3-ways currently, but there's no ground, I wonder if somehow it's grounding out and the wires that I'm thinking are supposed to be the running lights are not, and they should be grounds, and I'm plugging them into a power. But what I can't figure out is how the power is getting back in through that circuit. And this brown wire goes through all my cluster lights, my turn signals, and it loops between both hand controls, crazy enough. Pinched wire. Well, I've kind of gone through all that. Let me show you. I kind of have it all opened up here. So the only grounds I have up in the head are right here, this green wire. And then back in here, all the black wires, which are the hot wires, feed right into here. And then all my grounds feed in right here to this one. The next place I have a ground is all the way back here. And the ground plugs in right here next to the CDI box. And then I have a ground that goes up into the rear turn signals and brake light. And then I even added an additional ground just to see if that improved anything. I also have a ground on the rear tail light. Brown is hot as well. Get the focus on me. Brown is the running light for the rear brake light. That's the only thing the brown wire does, which is really weird. So the only two places that the brown and the white come in contact is under the ignition. It's basically a post that turns and it bridges 2 points, and it bridges that brown and white. And when it does that, it's basically powering all my instruments and the tail light. Weird thing is this bike also has a parking mode, and if you turn it all the way over, it all would work. So it was somehow bypassing the fuses and everything would turn on. Can't quite explain that one to me. And that's why I thought it might have been a bad ignition at first. And then I went through and cleaned it and looked at it, and it looked great. It would be my taillight fuse that is popping in all of this. Somehow my taillight fuse is popping, but it's not popping now since I unplugged the white and brown. So I'm not sure. That's where I'm kind of confused of where my brown and the brown and white are interacting when they're not even technically supposed to be on the same circuit, except for inside the ignition. I've also never seen anyone use the ignition as a live power transfer like this, I guess. I guess I've never really torn apart many of these ignitions. This is my first time really seeing this. You would think I would just use like a relay system where the key would just be a non-powered relay to tell the system to turn on. But on this bike, all the power runs through the ignition and then gets diverted. So I think my plan right now is we're going to experiment a little. I think I'm going to unplug the constant for the turn signals. Because I swear I might remember him having those tied to the bottom of the triple tree. Like they were just bare wires and like put up there with a nut. They weren't even like proper terminals. So we're going to do some hackery here, and I'm going to unplug those, see if I can get them to ground out, which I don't know if it's even going to be the right thing, and go from there. Super weird system. It's weird that the horn is fed through a live wire loop technically, but what I couldn't figure out was where it was getting its power. And the brown wire comes in here, and some way or another, it's getting power in here. Super confusing. All right. I will set you up. This is a 1979 CX500. I've looked at multiple different wiring diagrams now. I have a couple saved on my phone now. I've probably spent close to 4 or 5 hours on forums trying to find out if someone else has had this experience. Similar encounters, but it's usually either come back to something was melted in the ignition, which mine looks perfectly fine on the inside. The closest I found was somebody talking about the turn signals of trying to retrofit 2-wire turn signals to a 3-wire, and they did say not to try to run them as constants. So that's basically my only other lead at the moment. I'll try to keep an eye on chat. I think you're right on the wires. Mainly the main fuse blows its ignition. Yeah, the only time I blew the main fuse was when I tried to put a bigger fuse in my taillight, and the taillight fuse ended up being a stronger resistant than my main fuse and blew my main fuse. But luckily I had one of those on hand. Yeah, I've experienced electrical issues before, and typically it's always like a ground. I've never had to go into a bike this deep and literally unravel a majority of the harness. Never done this before. So, and I was using a multimeter. And that's another thing too, is what's weird about the system is I can get continuity like through almost every terminal, which doesn't make sense, which means, am I getting a live power through the frame? But if I was, everything else would blow, but nothing's blowing. All right, so this is such a mess too. I almost got to the point where I was ready to just rewire the whole bike. So I have 2 plugs that go into the back of the horn. This black wire goes up to the horn, and then this black wire is supposed to go into the harness here, which is this pin here. Which way does this go in? Yeah, I have pinched wires and handlebars once before, and I was able to track it down pretty easily. I'm not sure if that's right. Yep, I had it upside down. On these plugs, I literally went through and tracked it down to where the white and brown split into the two handlebars. And I just started pulling each individual wire out. And as soon as I plugged in this white and brown, it popped. So something about, what's weird is even though the white and brown popped, the turn signal still worked, which is weird. Which is why I think the white and brown might be a running. See, this has been my last couple of days just running in circles. And now that it's on a live stream, I sound like a madman where I just talk myself into circles. Okay, so I do think I want to do what that one guy suggested online. And he said to take the headlight ground here and plug it into the actual harness ground here. Because then this wire actually goes back into the body. Well, I can't remember if they hot wired anything or not, so let me see if I can get a good angle here. I can show you these wires. Plug these in. Okay. Put a test light on white brown to see which one is hot. Well, they all go hot from the ignition. The only one that causes the fuse to pop is this one that I pulled out of the terminal. And everything else works still and doesn't cause it to pop. Because the white and brown is supposed to be for running lights only. And the black are the hot wires. So right here, try to separate this a little bit. Bring in. These are turn signal wires. So right here is the black that goes in. And this goes up to the turn signal housing. And these go to the turn signals. Okay, so I believe, I'm suspecting that this wire here is for the third wire for running lights in the front. And I'm wondering about that. I just can't figure out where this black wire comes in contact. Because I wonder if this black wire, because I've spliced this in. This is actually, if I can show you here. This is the harness that goes up to this light right here. And the red one's the hot, and I think this one's supposed to be the ground. And instead, I've got the ground plugged into the factory hot for running lights. So if I unplug these, man, that's real. I don't know. That's tricky. So the other side is the blue. So if I unplug these, well, I wonder actually, if I just completely unplug these turn signals, would they still work? I hate tugging on these wires. These bullet connectors are nerve-wracking. So the turn signals are completely pulled out. And I still want to do this ground, so I think I'm going to... I can actually jump this and just run it to the frame real quick just to see if it helps. Let me grab a wire. So I did this once before. It's just basically a jumper to go from this ground to the actual chassis. And I want to make sure it goes to a good spot. So what I was doing is I was running it through here, which is a metal bracket that goes into a bolt. I might run it up into there, because that is a good ground. Okay. There's such a mess here, I have to stare at it. To be like, okay, is this right? Jess was filming me yesterday, and it was just like tedious. Felt bad for her out here watching me. So this wire here, this brown, it doesn't interact with the horn. And I don't know why the horn doesn't work. Okay, I'm overthinking it. Focus on one thing. Okay. Oh boy. Tripod's getting a little out of whack. Technically, nothing's really changed. I mean, I've just unplugged turn signals. Focus. Come on, little guy. Auto follow cameras are nice until you turn around and realize it's staring at your bottom. This is why it was nice when Jess and Manny were over and they could be my camera people. Okay, so all I've done technically, added a ground, completely removed the turn signals from the system. I still have the rears hooked up, which the rears from factory were only 2-wire. So nothing has changed with the wiring in the rear, except that I've added a redundant ground. Isolate each group. So you're saying, should I unplug everything? My camera feed's like 15 seconds behind, so. I guess it wouldn't hurt because the whole tail light. So that's the running light there. And then these are just grounds. And then those are the turn signals. See if anything pops. Okay, so no pop. I have cluster lights. Churn signals are not hooked up, so that's all dead. And then horn. Does horn work now? No. No horn. So the only thing I can do now is I can plug in this white and brown wire. And I just don't know how this white and brown wire is supplying power up here when it goes into the turn signal box. How does that make sense? So the power is coming from, let me see here. So it's coming down off of the fuse block. And then a yellow and black wire jump around, comes up here to the control, which I'm pretty sure the yellow and black is like part of the kill switch or something on this side, or the start switch. Yeah, there's no other brown that comes out of that, just yellow, black, white, black, black and brown. Huh. What's strange is, well, I guess that wouldn't be strange because last time I plugged in this handlebar and then went to plug in the other one, it blew. Okay. So I guess if I want to take a chance, I can leave the turn signals unplugged, plug that white and brown wire in, see if it blows. I think all these blacks are hot. I don't even think the horn goes through a fuse, which is really strange as well. Might be the turn signal wires. Well, we can unplug the turn signals completely. So my turn signal wires are orange and blue, orange and white, blue and white, which I think the orange and white, blue and white are the running lights, which I unplugged. So I'm going to unplug all of my turn signal wiring because maybe there's a break in it, perhaps going downstream. But that wouldn't make sense because they were working before anyways. But I have a sneaky suspicion if I plug in this brown wire back into the turn signal box that it will pop. Gosh, he's come apart so violent. All right, what else actually connects out of this harness? I have the horn plugged in, which the horn did work at one time, but I can't remember if I had the horn working before I changed the wiring on the turn signals or after. I think it was before, because I did the horn before we tore down the front end and I redid the fork fluid. I should pull this housing apart too. I looked on the inside of this one. I haven't looked on the inside of this one. Wiring looks great. Like honestly, everywhere I go to unwrap everything, the wiring is in like pristine condition. Just inside the bucket, it's a little cobwebbed. And all these other wires that go back go to the ignition, CDI box, flasher relay, and stator, basically. On most bikes, this is all back in there, but no. All right, should we try to start it with none of the turn signals hooked up? Technically, the light power, and we're going to see if it pops something in the handlebar again. I'm on my second box of fuses, which is lovely. So that gives me 3 left. So if I blow one, I'll have 2 left. How exciting. I don't know if this is actually going to work. All right. I have a feeling this will blow a fuse. Because something somewhere no. Okay. So this adds a level. I bet you it's those turn signals. I bet you I was running power in through a ground. But it just doesn't make sense of the horn still. Does the horn work? Horn still doesn't work, which is interesting. Why would the horn not work now? I still have that plugged in. Can I get the horn to work without the turn signals plugged in? So it comes down, goes in the harness, comes out, and then it goes back to a big group of hot wires all bound up, and then all the hot wires get dispersed everywhere else, it looks like. Goes to these little relays and everything. Interesting. I wonder if I have the horn hooked up backwards. Let's try switching the wires on the horn just for the churn signals. Uses the brake ground to blink. I wondered about the horn too, but I had it working at one point. And I had it working the other night again. And then I don't know what I did differently to make it not work. These plugs are tight in here. I do have another horn though that I can pull off the other bike if I want to test it. And if I want to, I can run some power wires up off the battery. See if the horn works. I know the horn works though, I've heard it. Okay. Switch the wires on the horn. Dash light's still light up. I apologize. Okay, so the horn works now. Look at me. You look at me when I'm talking to you. So the horn works now. So I guess now, sorry about the new noise. That caught me by surprise. I didn't think that would work to switch two hots around. Strange. So I guess now we can start. We can plug in the rear, which it doesn't matter because it's all unplugged in the front, I just realized. So let's plug in the rear. Grab my little chair. After 4 days of this, kind of tends to add a little stiffness to the back. Okay. So back here is pretty straightforward. I have to cut this zip tie, unfortunately. And after 4 days of in the garage, I don't know where I put all my tools. Where, oh where, did my little red snips go? Where, oh where could they be? No, really, I don't know where I put them. Are they in the back? Well, I don't know. I'll have to look for them later, maybe. Can't get the wires to... Ooh, these are bad. No wonder I bought new snips and then lost them. Can't see anything I'm working on, can you? If you haven't noticed, I got a motorcycle lift set up in the back. Courtesy to a few donations, and Ed and Manny throwing in a good chunk to support my bad habit. But hopefully they bring their bikes over and work on them on the lift too. It's part of chipping in. That's the deal. Yeah, the bike is coming along on the lift. Still got some ways to go, good ways to go. Which it's funny enough, it's running the same turn signals on this bike on that bike. So right now I feel like I'm killing two birds with one stone by figuring out the turn signals on this bike. Because I bet you I'm going to have the same problem on that bike. I'm still filming a video on that Honda chopper as well. I think it's up to about 45 minutes or something on the first draft, but we're still filming. My goal is to end the video with it running. But I also have a lot of other projects to work on because I want to bring the Dyna in here. I got the Kawasaki I'd like to get going. I just got to redo some gaskets on the Kawasaki, and I might be able to put fuel in that and kick it over. And then I think there's more electronics on that that might need to be repaired. So this is good practice. Okay, so just to double check, red to red. So it gets a little confusing back here. Yeah, so the ground on the factory harness is green. Yeah, a pro. Should have started 20 years ago, but I'm learning. So the ground off of the turn signals are black, like everything else in existence. But Honda back then did the ground green. And then turn signal wires for the power are red. And then I have the yellow and green wire goes to the ground back here. Or no, the yellow and green is the brake light, and then the brown is the running light. That's right. Okay. Yellow and green running, brake, yellow and green brake, brown running. Oh, I've got some spring riding coming up. Definitely got some spring riding coming up. Okay, so rear's plugged in. Turn you around. So technically I haven't plugged in anything into the front, but just for giggles and shits, we're going to see if anything pops. Okay. Oh yeah, and it might help if I put the turn signal switch back in that. I think it's stuck on the left right now, so I'll know. It's 45 degrees here today, and it's not fair, because like a week ago it was like mid 70s. One day we pushed almost 80. I've had crazy thunderstorms rolling through. Well, I know most of the Midwest has had thunderstorms because I've been watching That Dominator 3 guy that chases down tornadoes out in the Midwest. That guy's crazy. I can't remember his name. Something Reed or Tim or something like that. Pretty cool. They do a live stream, and they're mobile live stream as they drive. Yeah, we've got really bad flooding here in mid-Ohio as well. I'm still very concerned about our property, but so far, knock on wood, we haven't had any problems. Of course, that's what happens when you spend a couple $1,000s on new gutters. Okay. So, technically, the solid blue, solid orange go to the turn signal housing. Where do these go? Oh, okay. That's not totally weird at all. Why would they do that? So solid blue, solid orange goes up here to the indicator, comes down, and then makes a hard turn, comes up to this connector, and then shoots back. And then this one, this solid orange, goes up to the churn signal box. Okay. Yeah, storm chasers are wild. That vehicle is pretty cool though. The way it can anchor in the ground. Where's my other orange? Should have an... I lost it. Where'd it go? Oh, I pulled it off to the side. Okay. So I've got the red labeled as an orange. So that means that should go in there. And then the orange and the white that's actually a brown is in fact probably the ground. And I should try grounding that. I bet you I misidentified this the whole time. Which is why he had, I think originally he had this wire going down underneath into a bolt on the bottom of the horn as a ground. Okay, I gotta reassemble the turn signal housing so I can actuate. So let's do that. All right, so I took this all apart to clean and then was having the issues and I kept going back in looking at the button trying to figure out all that good stuff. So I need to put this back together. If your hands are going numb, honestly, that is a sign of you're gripping the bars too hard. But also, my hands go numb on different bikes, especially bikes with a lot of vibrations. So on the BMW R18 Bagger, I don't know if you're familiar with that big bike. It's a BMW motor that shoots side to side. I never had a problem with that bike until we did a road trip. Down to North Carolina on it, and we were doing like 75, 80 miles an hour, and the vibrations coming off of that bike were insane. I think I need to think there's a plastic guard that goes on first. Howdy, May-J. I don't know if you guys want to look at my face or look at what I'm doing. There's a plastic shield, I believe, that goes here. Yeah, I mean, I would start by loosening your grip, wearing a decent pair of gloves maybe, or getting better grips. But on the BMW, I even added pads onto the grips to make them thicker. And it did help, but my hand still went numb. My thumb on my right hand especially likes to go numb because that's my hand I'm always grabbing throttle. And I don't have cruise control on all of my bikes. Good. I'll keep on what I'm doing. God, the wiring looks ridiculous on the TV right now. I'm looking back at my TV on what's live stream. It looks... I can't wait till I can wrap this back up. I just didn't know where the brake would have been, you know? I was grabbing multimeter and going all over this thing. So this is the switch. And it just goes right down in here. I think I did this wrong again. Hang on, let me loosen this. It's got so many little guards. Okay. Now I can put this screw on. I did ride this around the yard for a couple of minutes just because I was testing the friction zone on the clutch. And man, I gotta be honest, I was surprised how smooth this bike was. Really smooth takeoff. It even took some of the bumps on the driveway pretty smooth. I was pleasantly surprised. I want to get out and maybe do a couple vlogs with this thing. And I think we're still planning on selling this bike. I kind of like it, but I don't know if I like it enough to keep it. Because it's kind of a beast to work on. It sounds so much better ever since I cleaned it. Before, it didn't even have the clicks. The only thing I couldn't get out was the high-low switch up here. These screws are like on, but luckily the switch housing works. I wanted, because the other side is dark like this, and this one's silver, which I don't know how that happens. And then these wires coming out right here are the neutral safety switch, which they're not plugged in, so they don't even do anything. I haven't had to mess with them any, so I'm not going to mess with them. All right, let's get a couple screws on that. I have spent probably too much time polishing the valve covers on this and the exhaust. I did patch the exhaust in a couple places. A couple old holes and stuff, and added some metal. Between both these project bikes though, we're like still, I think, under $400 on everything we've done. All the service kits, the oils, even the tank that we bought, I think that thing was like 50 bucks. Just working with what we got, trying to build them as cheap as possible. All right, there's the switch now. Turn signal housing back together. These wires are just gonna Chill. Yeah, I'm excited to ride it, especially with the amount of mods I've done to it. Done a lot of little, ooh, sorry about the loud noise. I've done a lot of little restoration on it. So now that I got the switch housing back together, let's turn it on again, make sure nothing's crimped or crunching. Yeah, I want to unplug this first. No blue wires plugged in, nothing. Just rear end, housing, and basic plugs. Okay, so we're still good. Still got lights. I wonder if this one has a light out. I could probably pull that. I don't think a blown light would cause a ground fault though. Oh, I better fix that. Sorry about that. Okay, let's plug in the right turn signal, the left turn signal. Okay. So that should work. So I've got, oh, we have a light. Interesting. Guess what's not hooked up yet either? The ground. Interesting. Low 20s? There's low 20s this week? No way. Now you're making me bring up my weather. Holy crap, you ain't joking. 32 tonight, and then 20s the next couple nights. It's already mowing season here too. My grass is so overgrown. They are already mowing places across the street. Wow. Okay, let's hook up the right side. Pull out these wires. 20s. Man, you know, I thought I was doing all right today. And then you got to go and bring up that. Oh, wow. Just means I got more time in the garage to try to get my pieces of crap running. You're not a piece of crap. You're just an old, tired dog. Where'd my blue wire go? There it is. Okay. Turn signals are hooked up, except for potential grounds. If those are grounds, I could probably just run them right down into these front clamp bolts and call them good. So no, oh, turn signal on. No running lights, of course, because these are not three-ways. Ooh. Well, that's an interesting thing. Oh. Plugged in the wrong one. No wonder the... Didn't blow anything, did I? I don't think I did. Okay, front, rear turn signal. Mind your ears. I'm going to test the horn. 3, 2, 1. Fair warning. We got a horn. Do we have a running light? We have a running light. Do we have brake light still? we have brake lights. Wow, that's a bright brake light. I was thinking about adding one of those hyper flashers on the back. Oh, funny enough, our ground fell out too. But our headlight bucket isn't plugged in anyways. Okay, so what's not plugged in now? No, everything's plugged in. We have our runnings. We have our hand controls. Still wants to start. I can tell the ground up front is weak because it's slow to respond. So I bet you those need to be grounded. Okay. So those terminals basically will not be used unless we wanted to run some auxiliary running lights. That's what I think I read one guy did, is he ran two-way turn signals and then had separate LED running lights, kind of like driving lights down low, which I thought was a cool idea. Well, see, all I needed was people to talk me through it. Still, okay, so I was basically grounding out the churn signals. It's weird that they still were working, but it was causing a fault in the hot wire, which the hot wire was tied through the horn. But it's weird that the hot wire also feeds every other circuit. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Either way, I'm happy it's together. Or it's working now. So now we actually get to go through and put everything back together. You want to see something cool? This is the bottom. This is the front cover. Yeah, send me a bill. I'll buy you a beer or something. So this is the front cover to the bike. Shows up backwards to me. Is that backwards on screen? Why is that backwards? Oh, no, it's not. Okay. It's just backwards on my camera. Strange. But we found this. Apparently this bike was registered in New York in 1980. No wonder it's such a bitch. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Not really, but. Ah! But yeah, I just thought that was a fun little Easter egg when we were taking the bike apart. We saw that, and I was like, no kidding, this bike came from New York. Like, who would have thought? I think it came from New York. I mean, it's hard to say. I know the motor isn't original from this bike. The motor is actually out of the old chopper we scrapped. And then the original motor of this bike is sitting back there in a bin, torn completely down. All right, so next step is I'm going to cap these wires. And then I got to do something about wire management. I am going to change the headlight ground from the bucket to the actual grounding of the system. So let's start on all that. Because it has an open connector right in the back to plug in the ground. So I think I'm going to do that. And then I need to screw the ignition back in. So I will put you guys somewhere about there. Maybe. I'll put you on the bike. You said you want to see the project. Bring you a little closer if you can. Well, I'm glad I got to fix this on live stream. That's kind of fun. I still don't know where my crimps went. Oh yeah, I might want to clean up this too. Look at how dirty the inside of this bucket is. Might try to maybe sand that, or take some steel wool to the inside of it and maybe shoot it with a little bit of Rust-Oleum. We also have a stripped out bolt hole on the side, which is lovely. I don't know if I can fix that. Well, I'm glad it's been a good Sunday. This is basically where I plan to be for the majority of the afternoon, at least a couple more hours. I don't have a lot more doing. Opening a can of pop. Cheers. Okay. I gotta figure out where all my tools are. Got them everywhere. We're going to bring our ground up. Snip that off by right there. I think I'm gonna have to buy another drawer system to keep all my stuff sorted. It's kind of getting out of hand. Just slightly out of hand. Need one of these butt connectors and some shrink tube. I think that'll be small enough. Get the heat gun ready. When you wasn't looking, I borrowed your wire strippers. I put them back on your bike lift. I think you're messing with me, but I'd laugh if I found them. They're around here somewhere. I know they are. But you made me look. So all of this, let this be a reminder, all of my problems are self-inflicted. See? Is that hard to admit? Did it kill me a little bit inside to admit that? Maybe. But I'm a man. I can change. If I have to. I guess. If you know what that's from, let me know. I bet you they are back there, like underneath that paper towel. Could have swore I was using them the other night. Red green. Sorry if this fan is loud. I don't have to hold it too close. Everything's so cold in here, it took a little while to warm up. Ooh, that's hot. All right. And now we have a pretty ground that should hold perfectly fine. And I want to plug it up in here to this connector, which means I will probably, oh, I might need to open up a little bit. I've had to do that to a couple of them. I start picking up some tools. Still no red snips. Keep your stick on the ice. All right. What's fun is I get to unplug all of this. You heading out? Rolling with the T-bone? Appreciate you coming by. There we go. Now we got a ground. Okay. So now we need to cap these. Well, these are technically grounds. I should have never put this extension on here in the first place. Waiting on a ground chopper build. Well, we're going to have this one, if you want to consider it a chopper. I mean, it is hardtailed, but never know what the future brings. I know I can't ride a hardtail. There's no way. I think I'm going to cut this line and replace it with a green. That way it stays in fashion with the motorcycle and people know. Oh, okay. I'm glad you're sticking around. For a second, it sounded like you were leaving. So let's cut these off. Make some grounds. Figure out. I'm going to have that many grounds though. I mean, I guess I could plug it in up here. There's another port. That's a lot. Our ground up chopper. Yeah, the closest we're getting is my buddy's Honda behind us, I think. Though Jess has always said she wanted something cool to have around, but I just can't do it. I ain't got the back for it. Waited too long. Lost that youth. Okay. Let's cut these off. Strip those back. Grab it. There we go. Well, that's weird that one is copper and the other one's silver. A soft-tail chopper, yeah. Yeah, if I kept it soft-tail, that'd be cool. It's something about the cruiser position, though, anymore, I've noticed. Just the pressure on my lower back and tailbone. I think that's why I've been slowly transitioning into like cruiser bikes and stuff. Or not cruiser bike, upright bikes. Like adventure bikes and stuff like that. This one's pretty far forward. I actually was thinking about changing the handlebars over because I have like 9 other sets over there on the floor. And I can make these bars a little taller. I have the Bad Boy Chopper from Shade Tree giveaway. The one flip and the Blue Mule one. Do I remember that chopper? I'd have to go back and look in the pictures. That's pretty cool you want it though. That's pretty cool. All right, let's grab some wire and connectors. Oh, about fell over sitting down. Okay. So these are gonna have to go in the back, come around inside, might add some length. I should do this after I pull all the wires through so I can see how much length I need. Look at me thinking ahead using my big boy brain. So if we want to get the bucket on here, yeah, I got to put the ignition on. This is the rain cover. It goes on right there. Doesn't it? Yeah. Mm. There we go. Oh boy, I'm getting way ahead of myself. I'm gonna have to wrap those wires too. Okay. I'm amazed all this stuff fits in the bucket, I'll be honest. It's a tight fit. I'm just getting way ahead of myself trying to get too much done. And I just realized like there's a lot I need to wrap first. There we go. Okay. Let's grab some electrical tape, and I think I have some conduit cover, or not conduit cover, but some rubber covers I can reuse perhaps. Not that I really want to actually. It's all kind of rotted. Oh, and I need to splice this. Look at that. I'm forgetting stuff everywhere. This is going to be so fun to tape up. And they put a natural spin on it when I unwound it. Alright, so these I need to conjoin. So what I'm doing right here is the brown wire that goes to the rear running light. And on European models, this had a plug in the headlight bucket that would run a parking light in the front. Because in the UK, by law, if you were stopped on the side of the road in your park mode, you had to have a front indicator light, basically, just showing you were there. US models did not come with that. And that plug is in the front, just taking up room. So I'm just going to shorten it and make it not an issue. Not sure if I want to do a connector or just twist it. We can do a connector. Oh, almost forgot. Shrink tube. I am not a professional electrician by trade. Oh, found my razor blade. Just a hair too long. Kind of wish I had a. Do I have a different crimp tool? I appreciate that. I wouldn't say I do professional work, but it's better than a lot of the stuff I fix on bikes. So I'll take the compliment. Alrighty. Plenty of shrink tube. Alrighty. That connector is good. Did I grab a roll of electrical tape? I'm pretty sure I did. Yes, I did. Now we can run this up. Might have to do this in different sections. Just kind of like as I go. There we go. And there goes my electrical tape. I'm just like picking up tools as I trip over them at this point. Okay, so these will stay outside, but those need wrapped. Let's pull these out. Need to put some grease on these plugs again. I feel like they're just so tight. Now I have electrical tape and I have another thing called friction tape. And it's kind of like a fabric. It's pretty cool stuff because it will only stick to itself, and it's also pretty abrasive resistance. I kind of wish I figured out about that stuff sooner. I would have used it on a lot more projects. Perfect for this motorcycle application, honestly, the way it resists abrasion. What's going on here at this ground? There we go. Don't want to make anything fold over. I have to wrap that separately. Dude, zip ties? Yeah. Especially in the ADV community, zip ties are... I even carry some jumbo zip ties on my dirt bike because I've seen a guy that blew a tube out in his front tire, and he literally zip tied his tire to the rim and drove out like 8 miles. Yeah, friction tape has been around for a while. I don't find it on many old bikes though. But if you're curious, this is basically what I buy. And it's really good. I like to use it. I'll use electrical tape first and then wrap that around the electrical tape. And it kind of holds all the electrical tape in, because electrical tape, after it ages, gets kind of gummy and kind of melty in hot weather and stuff. And the friction tape kind of holds it all together so it doesn't get nasty. Okay. This is going to be hard to do. I'm not too happy that I'm going to have to do this in so many different lengths. I wonder how many times I'm going to drop that electrical tape tonight. All right, so then that will all go together. Then we'll go down. Just want to make sure I don't fold any wires over very harshly. It really sucks I had to like unwrap all of this all because of a freaking ground issue at the turn signals. But I literally was making it harder on myself because I was backfeeding power through a ground system. Just made it harder on myself. All right, so that one will go there. So that's one. This one's pretty good, just needs some tape right there. Didn't fully unwrap this one at least. Yeah, now I know how to do the churn signals on the chopper. So that's definitely why I wanted to figure this out now, because I knew it was going to be an issue, because we have the same exact churn signals we're going to put on the chopper, for now anyways. And we're only doing that because he has all this stuff he already bought. So there's no reason to buy new stuff if we're sitting on all of it already. Alright, those are good. Those are good. Still gotta do those. That's all good. Lots of conundrums going on here. Let's see here. Why are these running so weird? They're just tangled. There we go. Separate some of this. Okay. Hello, Georgia Hillbilly. Welcome to the most tedious thing you can do on the internet, taping electrical. Proudly brought to you by Jordan Ray. Because if it wasn't boring, I wouldn't do it. I think when I go to put all this back together, I'm going to be putting dielectric grease everywhere. Everywhere. Okay. I think I can pull this whole side out to wrap. Oh, damn, you know what? I wasn't supposed to have wrapped that. I just wrapped up the headlight wiring. It's supposed to stay loose. Damn it. Undo that. How far back does that go? Should be plenty. And now I'm just going to rip that out. Oh. Okay. Better. Yeah, I accidentally wrapped up the headlight wiring and the turn signal wiring all into one group. Gotta pay more attention. All right. Sorry about the one angle. Don't really have much else to show. Try to keep an eye on comments. facing away from it now. Oh boy, look at this. There are my electrical tape. Something's caught. Where's it caught? Ugh. Yay. Electrical. Listen, I'm sorry if you can hear me taking a drink, because I know I hate that, but I kind of wish I could play music on the live stream or something. I think there's a way to do that. It's just hard because you have to find like royalty-free music. And then I've read a lot of people talk about how they've done music, and at first YouTube will try to copyright claim you, and you have to dispute it. It's always weird something. Alrighty. So this is the weird stuff they do. So the wiring, bring you in closer here. Can you see this? So the wiring comes in from the ignition, goes down, and then they all just pull little 180s. And I think that's to help when it's wrapped up like this and you start tugging on it. I think it's so you don't like rip these wires or something, but it's still like, that's a hard 180 right in the sleeve. Like, I don't know if there's any truth to that, but that's what makes sense to me. I also discovered while researching all of these wiring schematics that I ran the clutch line wrong and the brake line. So now that I saw that, I can't unsee it. Now I want to fix it. It's kind of interesting though to work on these bikes after I've worked on the Sportster for so long, because the wiring I feel like was pretty different the way they managed it and ran it on the Sportster. And I mean, and also now working on Jess's new bikes, which are totally different because they're CAN bus. It's like seeing 20-year increments almost. So this is a 79. Then I worked on a Sportster that's an 01. Totally different electrical, it seemed like. Similar in principle, just different how they route it. And then working on the new 24s, it's like, you want to talk about wires. Holy cow. It's just cool to see the progression, I guess, in a way. I still prefer older bikes. I mean, if I was better, oh, that one didn't stick. If I was better at diagnosing, this would have been like a 10-minute job. But no. No. I fixed the turn signals. They can't be wrong because I did them. And you know what was wrong? The turn signals. All right, so some of these I want to keep pretty loose. So that's a bunch there. That'll stay loose, that'll stay loose. This will stay loose, and that'll stay loose. So I want those to come up, kind of tee off like that. And then the cool thing I saw when I unwound this is they actually had this like wound for some reason. It's kind of cool. If I can redo that. Yeah, kind of like that. So I've been annoying Jess here lately. I'm sure she isn't watching. Uh, and I'm slowly planting the bug in her ear that I'm new car shopping. Not really new per se. Basically older than the 79. So working on like these older bikes and stuff and like working on my Sportster. It's kind of been like good practice, just like diagnosing, working on, getting my hands dirty. But I really want to move up to some sort of like muscle car, I think. Some sort of classic that I can toy away on and obsess over. And so far, she's not having it. Which I get. We'll get there. Gonna have to solve a few things, unfortunately. Make some room in the garage, maybe. I'm particularly looking for like Chevys and stuff. I just like Chevys. A lot of Fords though for sale, and a lot of Dodges. I've noticed a lot of Dodges. It's kind of surprising. Yeah, go tell Jess to let me buy a classic. She'll love that. She will absolutely love that. But you know what Jordan could really use is a nice classic car to pull him away from you a little more. Sure, she'll love it. What wife wouldn't love their husband to get obsessively compulsive hobbies with classic cars? Especially, well, it's kind of driven too by back issues. I mean, granted, I'll be working on something still, but at least then I can drive it around. Not have to worry about the road beating me up as much. I really wanted a Wrangler for the longest time, but good grief. Especially like an older TJ or an LJ. And I had a fantasy idea of taking one out west. And I mean, never know. Still doable, maybe. They're just too expensive. Too much money for a Wrangler. Buy a nice classic car for half the price. '69 Firebird. I've seen a couple Firebirds for sale. I think I want to keep these wires out. These are my turn signals and grounds and stuff. I'm not real picky about what I get. Well, the Pan America isn't mine. And technically neither is the BMW. Found a couple older Camaros online. Finding something that's running condition, that's fairly put together. Because what I want is a driver project. I don't want something that isn't running or driving. But I don't want something that is completely rusted. I want like a good in-between. Something that I could literally go there, buy it, drive it from the guy's house, bring it home, take it out on the weekends, and then slowly over the weekends do a few projects with it. Do little upgrades with it. Do like a radiator one weekend, maybe like a radio the next weekend, but still be able to enjoy it. Go out on date nights, stuff like that. A rat rod? Ew, I don't know about a rat rod. I'm already building a rat bike over there, I feel like. Oh yeah, Jess knows there's sacrifices to be made, and I'm the one to make them. I don't know if this all needs to be done. I'm going to stop here. And now we're going to wrap this back. So this is a leather sheet, or not leather, a big thick rubber sheath that lays over the hot part of the engine. And now I'm going to wrap from where I peeled back all the way up. The rat bike will be cool. I'm excited for the rat bike. There's just a few, it's the fine detail stuff, like how to make the things look right, like the turn signals with the fender and making a seat that's custom fit to the bike. And it's that type of stuff that has taken me a while. But once you figure it out, you're like, oh, why didn't I think about that in the first place? You know? Better. Now I think right in here, I'm going to use some of that friction tape just to protect it. A 56 Ford step side. That's totally achievable. You totally can find those. I don't know what it is on Marketplace. I'm finding tons of old Chryslers, Dodges, Fords. It's like the Chevys, so like those are the ones that just non-existent. I don't know if that's just because they all rotted out or just because that's how many people are like really holding on to their Chevys, you know? Yeah, 69 Camaro. Those are money for sure. I think I need scissors. Oh, got a razor blade. All right, let's see here now. Harness goes up there now. So originally in the factory, you run it real low, and I don't know why they do that. I like to run it over along the top of the neck right here because there's so much room up above the tank anyways, and it minimizes a lot of the flex when you steer on these, I've noticed. So let's see if we can figure out a good path to run the... Whoop, loud noises. Clean up some of my mess here. It's kind of funny how excited I am to ride this bike around. Just from that short little loop around the yard. It just actually kind of impressed me. Okay. This wire needs to go behind, technically. Yeah. Those will go in the front. Brake goes right in. The brake, technically, I think, is supposed to go up in there. Let's fix that. We're going to try to run that correctly while I'm putting all this back together. Got stuff everywhere. Do I have a 10 mil? That is the question. Where is my 10 mil? Why is 10 mil always gone? Oh, because I had it on another extension. Wait. Chevy HHR. Dude, those things are huge. I had an old friend that used one as a band equipment mover. He could fit his entire drum set and like the majority of his bandmates' stuff in the back. Not a real fan of them, but they can haul some stuff. It just seems like it's going to be really tight. Especially once I get the ignition in there. How's that look on the other bike? Oh yeah, just go straight down. Yeah, I'll just push in. Oh yeah, plenty of room. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to have. So my speedo cable technically is supposed to come in here. Oh, there is a zip tie for that. Wow, I never noticed that. Okay. Man, I really did run all this stuff wrong, didn't I? Avalancher's getting older. 300,000 miles. Damn. Yeah, this is technically supposed to run behind. Like that. So I don't even know if you guys will reach over here. It's far. So it's supposed to go behind there. Out front. Well, especially if you're driving them every day for work. What's sad is like I'm doing all this, but the tack on this thing doesn't even work yet. I think there's a problem with the tack drive. So the tack on this bike is pulled from a cam gear off the camshaft, which I just think is the dumbest freaking thing. And in order to get to it, you have to completely pull off the radiator. And then you get a puller to pull the fan off because the fan spins off the cam. Yeah. Yep. And then we can zip tie this. Zip tie this right up in there. Kind of a terrible design, I think, but hey, I found my snips. Found them. They were hiding underneath the brake light in my gloves. See? What's the point of looking for something when all I gotta do is wait for it to come around? Too big. think it's funny, the last stream I was working on this bike, all we did is the front end. And then that's where I left the stream, and now you come back and the bike is still apart. That's exactly right. Hiding things from myself keeps me sharp. And then I'm walking around going, what a-hole hid that from me? And I'm the a-hole. What else we got? Oh yes, the clutch line. I need to rerun the clutch line. This clutch line technically says it's supposed to run down in here, go across, and then down portion of the frame, and then behind the radiator shroud. Which I don't know about. I don't know about that. Greetings from Albany. I'm not sure how to say her name. Adipose Finn? Is that even close? Is that remotely close? Adipose Finn? Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that wrong. But howdy. Welcome to the stream. That's crazy that they actually push the clutch line like right up against the radiator and it comes up. Oh, cool. It's a fish thing. That's cool. All right, I need my chair and I probably need a, what size is that? I'm guessing a 12. I'm guessing a 12 mil. I'm probably wrong. No, I'm right. Can I get this in any further? I don't know if I can. Hey, I can. Can't get you to the full side, but so that is fully tightened. That's the weird thing about these clutch lines is like, I've noticed they're all like out of adjustment, like fully maxed out, it seems like, which is wild. Okay, we got slack there. Stand by. Americade this summer up in Lake George. What is that in question to? Americade. Sorry if that's annoying.
It's a bike rally in Lake George, New York, every summer.
I don't have any plans on going to New York. Sounds cool. I think I might get one big out-of-state trip this summer that's already planned. Other than that, I don't really have any other plans, I think, for long trips. There's a lot of exploring I would like to do in Ohio, oddly enough, my own backyard. There's a couple trips I didn't even get to do last year. All right. What is that? Oh, okay. There it is.
Don't blame you.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Jess and I have done a ton of traveling the last couple of years, so I'm pretty thankful for that. But I mean, some of those are like paid for sponsored trips, but man, you're still spending money. And I don't enjoy every long trip. Wow, that actually fits in there. That's pretty wild how that does that. Hmm. That's gonna look pretty nice actually. I'm kind of glad I saw that now online, showing how to actually run the clutch line. Just got to make sure I get everything in the right spot. That's close. It's close. Beautiful. And do I have turning clearance? I do. I do. I need to put a little holder right there, I think. Hold it in. And then it looks like the tank holds it in the rest of the way, oddly enough. Do I have any of those? Do I have any wire holders? I might. This is why I keep bins of crap around. Didn't pull the handle when you turn the front. I'm still thinking about raising those bars. Not sure if they're too low or not. It looks like all I have is this one. So you can kind of see this actually tucks in here, and then the gas tank sits right in here, covers all this, and this there's a huge tunnel up in here that it's supposed to go over. What I want is it sits pretty close in here. This goes on. Right there. Yeah, because it's supposed to run like right in this little groove, it looks like. Hmm. Yeah, these are like, I don't know, maybe 4-inch, some like tracker bars. They're just super wide. Thought about trimming them down, but I don't know if I need to do anything with this. Especially after I get the tank on it, I don't know. I don't know how to keep that up in there. Maybe I need to run it behind the radiator line as well. Let's go get the tank, see how this fits. Try not to trip on my own wire over here. Alrighty. So these need to come up. Yeah. See how that, oh boy. Like I said, I about tripped over you. Ah, you see that? See how that, sorry. See how that hides this whole line up in there? It just tucks up in there in that big crack up in the tank. That is really clean. This used to all hang out with cable. That holds in there pretty good. I mean, you can feel it. Interesting. That's pretty clean. All right. This is all discombobulated because I was messing with it now. Sorry. Looks pretty good. Yeah, and those cables are pretty free actually. Then they're just kind of pushed between a gap about that wide between the frame and the gas tank, and they just kind of right in there. And then these are the throttle cables. They just kind of hide right in there. The cable up here is a little high though because these are such low handlebars. It is what it is. All right, so oh, I forgot to run the harness up. It's a little tight, a little tight. I have to change the location of that. It's kind of in the way. My choke line a little in the way. Is that loose? Yes. Gonna try to get all of these lines in the right place so I don't have to tear this down for the 50th time. Better. Are we getting there? Have we done anything today? Good grief, look at the time. It's already 3:40. Good Lord. I haven't even cleaned the inside of the bucket yet. Okay. Wiring coming through. Looks good. All right, now we're getting somewhere. So these run down below. Probably wrap some electrical tape around these to protect them. Oh, goodness gracious. I do have to say it's a bit comical how they choose to run some of this down below and hide it behind this little fairing, and then the rest of it just gets shoved in the bucket. Just a strange observation is all.
Gotta feed that back up in there too. Yep, there went that. That is a tight fit. There it is.
Now to put the bolts in. This will be fun.
Hey, thanks for coming by.
I'll probably be wrapping up here soon as well. Whoops.
Alrighty.
So the culprit that was the problem, was the two cables coming off of the turn signals. The way that the factory harness worked on the CX is it was a 3-wire. So one wire was turn signal, another wire it was a running light, and the third wire was the ground. These are 2 wires. Excuse me. So one wire was actually just turn signal, and another wire is the ground. And it being black, I think, is what did me in. So I thought, oh yeah, black to black, which black was not ground in this system. Black was a hot wire in the system. So I was actually feeding a hot wire into a supposed ground, and it was grounding out through the system. So that was the problem. The problem was me. Who would have thought? The problem is always me. Now I'm just trying to get the 2 bolts in for the ignition tightened up. And preferably here soon, because it's already pushing a little late. And eventually I'll need to go inside and see the wife. All right, there is ignition. But we got it all figured out, and that's the important thing. I just spent 18 hours, 20 hours chasing my tail around in a circle. It turned out to be nothing. All right, so we've got the horn wire hooked up. And we've got some wires to feed through. This will all go into the housing bucket. That's actually a lot tidier than what it used to be, I think, but it's still going to be a lot to shove into that housing bucket. I think some of this might actually hang out in a little chunk over here. And then I still got to do the grounds here. But so before I do any of this, I'm probably going to take some time and clean out the inside of this bucket and try to get rid of as much of the rust as I can. Maybe put a little Rust-Oleum rust converter on it. So I think that might be where I call it for this live stream. Hopefully the next time this bike is on YouTube, hopefully we're out taking it out on a little cruise. And yeah, I'm excited for that. I don't know if anybody has any other questions, comments, conversation topics. I'm open to anything if you guys are. Give it the next like couple minutes. And we can close out from here. Yeah. Yeah, that's Manny in the chat. He was in the last live stream. These are his bikes, actually. This was very spur on the moment. I just happened to be working on these last couple of nights. And Sunday seems to be a pretty decent day to do a live stream. Saturday or Sunday, probably. So if I do these live streams, I'm going to try to keep them on the weekends. Doesn't make much sense to do it during the week when everyone's actually working. But anyways, yeah. Not as many people this time around. I didn't really announce it, like I said. Very spontaneous. But next time I'll try to maybe give a more of a head notice. But if you enjoy this, thanks for sticking around. Glad we got the electrical issue figured out. Turns out it's always me. And until next time, take it easy.